Hello, Nikolaos. Welcome to the stream. Thank you very much for being with us. Now we are having the collaboration with great chess author Cyrus Lakdawala. We start with 3 minutes. And we will be having the collaboration with my favorite author. This guy is amazing. This guy is absolutely the star, as I can say that. And that's why I'm super happy about it, guys. I am super happy. The only drawback is that we just have 60 minutes. Just 60 minutes, that's why we need to make it pretty quickly. Normally it could be 2 hours, but Cyrus simply said that he cannot do it 2 hours because of his schedule, and therefore we are just have 1 hour. That's why I am pretty much sad about it, but anyway we can do it. This guy is the most prolific chess author ever. That's why I'm super happy about it. This is the guy who is rocking. That's why I'm happy about it very much. I'm happy about it very much, guys. And what about you guys? Are you waiting for this interview? Let me know, because I am super excited about it. Not gonna lie, I'm very much excited. This is gonna to be the most, let's say, respected and most, how to put that, most hyped author, collaborator I have ever had in our channel, in our community. And to be honest, Cyrus is a absolutely passionate guy, therefore I'll be asking him to speed up a little bit, because he can talk about chess, about all of the chess, what you ask him, for hours. Not for minutes, for hours. That's why I'm so happy about it. Therefore, guys, we'll be rocking. We will be rocking, guys. This is going to be the fire. By the way, these books will be briefly talking about. I mean, these books: Chess for Hawks, Clinch It, Winning Ugly in Chess, Tactical Training, Training in the Endgame, Royal Chessbook, and Smith's of Workbook. These books I'll ask him very briefly to discuss. Very briefly, something like promote. Okay, guys, it looks like that we are having 1 minute to the meeting. Therefore, I'm just popping up, disappearing. But in a moment, I will be with you. Now, perfect. Okay, thank you very much for the patience. And now, officially, guys, welcome to the stream, our amazing guest. This is one of my beloved chess author, Cyrus Lakdawala. How are you, my friend Cyrus?
How are you, Tomas? Thank you for having me today.
Thank you very much for accepting the invitation. I'm super happy because you are so passionate about chess, and you have so many anecdotes, so many experience, so many stories, and your way of functioning, either in a, let's say, human way and in a chess way, is so amazing that I always wanted to have such a passionate as you. And I was talking about you as many times on my streams, because I'm streaming for the community of beginners and some of the intermediates, and I told about you that you are so passionate that you always think and always something like breathe with chess. And can you, let's say, elaborate a little bit and introduce yourself to our audience as well?
It's actually, I'm not actually as passionate as you think I am. It's like chess is not my, I mean, chess is my passion, but I have many other passions. I have passions for writing, and I do a lot of Buddhism, like Buddhist study and meditation. And I mean, I grew up in chess, and so it's my world. You're right. I mean, I live in the chess world, you know.
Mm-hmm. And if you just introduce yourself a little bit from the perspective of our audience, who are you? What have you been doing at chess community, and how did you become a chess author?
Well, I was a writer when I was very young. I wrote a syndicated column for Copley News Service in the U.S., and it was in about 300 newspapers. But you know, newspapers started dying like in the early 1990s, and they were making a lot of money on my columns, and they said, we need to cut your amount you're getting. So I said, nah, forget it. I'm not taking a pay cut, you know. But then I just stopped writing for you know, this was in my early 20s that I was writing this chess column. Okay, and I was like I mean, I'm like what you'd call a weak professional level player. I mean, I reached like almost 2600 USCF.
Mm-hmm.
My FIDE is very low because I didn't have opportunities to play. I mean, my FIDE high rating I think was 2445, but I was beating much stronger players than that. Like I was beating like 2550 GMs online chess.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was stronger than that, but I just never played. I didn't go for a title till I was like almost 40.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I got my IM title on my 42nd birthday
Mm-hmm.
because I was too poor to go to Europe. I couldn't afford to go to Europe to search for titles. And at that time, when in the 80s and 90s, there were very few title tournaments in the U.S. You had to go to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife and I bought a home early in San Diego, and like just to give you a picture of how expensive it is to live in San Diego, the median price for a home in San Diego right now is over 800,000.
Wow.
So it's like, yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy. You have to be an oligarch now to live in this city. No oligarch. If you're not an oligarch, you cannot live in San Diego. Like I don't have 800,000. Where am I getting 800,000 for a house? For not a good house, a crappy average house. I'm talking about. Anyway, we couldn't afford for me to go around because I was teaching, and we couldn't pay the mortgage with my wife's income. So I was kind of stuck, and I thought I would never get a title. But then when I turned 40, my wife said, hey, you better get your IM title now before you get any worse, So I got it. I got it very quickly. I got it, I got it very easily. Like it was just, I think I played in like 4 tournaments, and I got it. I got 3 out of 4 norms. 3 norms, and my FIDE rating was already over. So I became an IM at the very, very late age of 42. But I was past my prime then. I might have been able to be weak GM about 10 years before that, 8 years before that, but I just didn't have the money, like I said. Anyway, like when I was, I don't know, I guess like 47, I hadn't written anything except a few local, newsletters and stuff in San Diego.
Yeah.
But Everyman contacted me and said, we know that you're an expert in the London system, and you want to write a book on the London. And so I wrote a book and on the London, and it sold very well. So they offered me another one, and then it just kept going on and on and on. And my writing style, I wrote a humor chess column. My chess column was not like the normal chess column when I wrote it. And so I thought maybe I'd just write my chess books in the same way as I wrote my column. And what happened is my fan base grew a lot because a lot of people like that style. But my enemy list grew a lot too, because a lot of people hate that style. Like the critics, Cyrus Lakdawala is the worst writer in the world, because they think that it defaces the game to use humor in chess. And chess is not a religion. I'm sorry, it's a beautiful game. Maybe your religion is not my religion. I could use humor if I want, and if lots of people like it and many people buy the books, I have to stop writing that way because it offends you. Sorry, So, so that's how I got into writing, and I found that I have a strange ability to I can put together a book much, much, much faster than I think any other chess writer. I just it just bangs out, like I could the average time for me to write a book is about 3 months.
And how can you do it? Because it's impossible to grasp for majority of our audience, to me included. How can you do such I would say lightning process into the making the final product for the, let's say, publisher? How can you do it? How can you function the normal day?
Part of it, I'm on the autism spectrum. I'm not like Rain Man autism, but I have some issues with autism. I have I get disoriented, directional disorientation. I went to the shopping center just a few days ago, and I just couldn't find my car, and I knew I parked it there. I think I walked by my car like 3 times.
Yeah.
And I know what my car looks like, but somehow my brain didn't register. The 4th time, oh, there's my car.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of problems with being on the autism spectrum, but one of them, I have abilities with it too. And part of the ability is I can process information very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think quicker than the average person. Like I can see the book in my head when like I can just sort of see the entire book in my head. And when I get an idea, I just know this idea belongs in this game at this point. Like I do a lot of my writing just, in my day-to-day stuff. I'll go for a walk,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll come back from the walk, and I'll go from game 3 to game 20 to game 50, and I'll fill in stuff that I thought of then. So I write in a very, very strange way. What I do is I find the games first, okay, and I fill the book with the games, and they're blank, okay, and I don't do game 1, game 2, game 3. What I do is I'll start with game 1, but then if I get an idea, oh, that belongs in game 37, and I immediately go to game 37 and put that there, and then I go back to game 1 and start working on it. And so it's completely haphazard. Like it's just I just go from one game to end of the book, to the middle of the book, to the early book, to the late book. It just jumping like a frog, right?
Can we say that you are controlling the chaos? Is it okay if you can say you are controlling the chaos?
Yeah, I know where I am, and I just get a feeling. I just kind of have an intuitive feeling. This is where the book ends right now. I have enough, and that's when I stop. And it usually takes about 3 months, but I've done books. Like some emergency books in 2 months, like I've done. So
sorry, I'm laughing because it's incomprehensible to me. How can you create the books in 2 months, especially as together with my community, we were making the books in the action. For example, I was the, let's say, chess author, if we can say that. We were discussing the ideas, I put them into the screen, and we were creating some kind of books. And they were asking me, Thinker Teacher, when the book is going to be published? And I told them, probably in 2 to 3 years, if we'll do it very quickly. And if you are just saying 2 months... Right. I mean, it's absolutely amazing.
I think most chess writers need, like really fast writers can do it in about 6 months, but most need a year. Like Jeremy Silman told me it takes him like about 2-3 years to write a book.
Yeah.
He writes big ones. He writes really big ones. But yeah, but it's normal to take about 2 years to write a book, But I think it has something to do with being on the spectrum, though. Somehow my brain just fits perfectly with writing a chess book somehow. I got lucky with that way, So
yeah, probably pretty crazy connections, but efficiently working with your kids. Now I'll be making some kind of a little bit of entertainment. I would like you just briefly. After that, you will be continuing with elaborating style. I would just like you to, let's say, stick some of the parts of your life into the numbers. Okay? Of course, chess style.
Okay.
Chess style.
Okay.
I'll start with 40. What would you say by 40?
By age 40, you mean?
No, 40 is the number, and what you stick to the 40 number with your chess life.
I don't understand what your question.
Okay, okay, no problem. I'll just put it different way. You just do it immediately. 40, 50, and 60. How old are you?
I'm 61 right now.
Yeah, okay, but round it in 60. How long have you been playing chess?
Oh, I've been playing chess since I was 8, so quite a while.
Therefore 50, right? Let's put it rounded 50, right?
Okay.
And 40?
52 years.
Yes, and 40
years,
probably you are teaching chess. Is it correct? Something like having the instructions?
I've been teaching. I was teaching since like maybe age 20, and I'm going to be 62 in a few months. So almost 42 years I've been teaching, yeah.
And that's why I just rounded into 50, 60, 50, 40. Because I was missing a lot of your, let's say, podcasts. And by the way, you are one of the most popular author recent years, because I was just looking at some of the podcasts, and as far as I know, the last 3 years you were at least popping up 10 times. I mean, 10 interviews that are available to the public.
Oh, okay. I think it's probably more than that. It feels like I do at least Yeah, it feels like I do about an interview a month, but maybe it's less than that. I don't know.
But
I had an interview just a few
available in the
days
public,
ago.
something like watching on the YouTube or something like easy to access, right?
Right,
Not something
right,
like premium or
right,
something like that. But anyway,
right.
you're excellent guy, and that's why I'm loving
Well,
to
thank you,
have
thank
it
you.
with
I
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you
I
very much.
appreciate it.
And now another stuff, because there are some questions popping up on the chat, and therefore I will be addressing as well. Okay. One of the
Sure.
questions from our friend Pumpkin the Cat is, if you think that strong players has the ability or something like a feature to be a little bit of the spectrum because they function in a different way than normal one, right? Some like title players, just 1% of all of the chess community, even less, and if there's something like a little bit special, a little bit, let's put it in positive sense, crazy. Something like not normal. What do you think?
Yeah. I think there's a very high percentage of people that are either on the spectrum or have Asperger's, like, they have like difficult personalities, but they just click with chess. That mind somehow, it's bizarre, but I think it helps to be autistic to play chess. Weirdly enough, I mean. I'm positive Magnus is on the spectrum. See, people like think when they say the spectrum, they think of Dustin Hoffman and the Rain Man, wanting to go take Qantas to that's the safest flight, like completely crazy. There's a wide range, and there are people that are just mildly on the spectrum that can pass as normal, but every once in a while you go kind of like, what? Like what? Like when I'm looking for my car, for instance, that I've had, and I just, where's my car? Like just strange stuff. I used to drive a stick shift, and then the pandemic happened, and like I hadn't driven that car for about a year, and I just lost the ability to drive a stick shift. That's not normal, right? Like I can't drive that car now. Like I just can't drive it now, and it's like, what happened to it? I used to drive a stick shift for 40 years. How do you forget? But it happened. Anyway, I think I think they're. Weirdly enough, I think it's an advantage in some cases. I think also the ideas I get are not normal because I get so many for the books, right? It's not. I think that's also part of being on the spectrum, that I get flooded. I just get flooded with ideas all the time. And the other thing I do too is I pay very close attention to life. Like every detail of life, I just look as material for my books. Okay. So if I have a conversation with someone and they say something clicks, that'll go in my book. Okay. But just, I'll make a connection somewhere on a walk, boom, that goes in the book. Basically the books like are my life, you know what I mean? It's like they merge. The thoughts in the books are my life. They're just thoughts.
You're expressing yourself with the books, right?
Yeah, I just anything that pops into my head, I write it down, like, and later I think I can use that in a book. And sometimes I'll use it, a year later in some book. But basically it's like that. And just, I don't think it's anything special, by the way, to be a writer. It really isn't. You just, all you have to do is be observant. All you have to do is observe. That's it.
Like as creativity is probably important as well. Let's get into next question. Sorry if I will be, let's say, a little bit cutting
No. You're
due
the
to
boss.
time
You're the
constraints,
boss.
okay? And I will be, let's say, something like making a little bit rapid fire questions. Now I would like to tell you, our audience, when and how you needed to quit chess.
Oh yeah. Well, the problem is, I wish. I really wish that the doctors could just remove my brain and put it in like a jar of solution, and I could dictate my books to them, like with blue light, like Star Trek, when I speak, blue light comes out. But unfortunately, we humans have to live in a body, and a body is just like when you're young, it's exactly like, oh, you have this fantastic new car, and then when you get old, it's like you're this poor guy that can't afford a new car, and you're putting tape everywhere, and like, oh my God, you're fixing crap that constantly breaks down, but your body is like that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I had a heart attack at a tournament in 2016. I was playing, and I had the heart attack in round one. And this is just to show you how stupid I am. I played the entire tournament, okay, after having a heart attack. I'm in excruciating pain. I didn't know that it was a heart attack. I thought if you have a heart attack, you just collapse. I didn't know that you could still function after a heart attack.
Uh-huh.
And I finished the tournament, then went home, and then I told my wife, I'm having a lot of chest pain. She goes, "What? Why didn't you go why didn't you call the hospital?" So we go to the emergency room, and the doctor tells me, you have no electricity in the bottom third of your heart, and you're like 45 minutes away from death right now. Why in God's name did you not come to the hospital after a heart attack? And now it's like my wife, anytime she wants to go after me, I remember, if you're so smart, why didn't you go to the hospital after you had a heart attack? You didn't. Means you're not so smart as you think you are. That's like a lifetime "I told you so" thing that my wife has over me now. So.
Probably that's the case. Another weird, let's say, stuff, because it's let's say a little bit crazy, if I can say that you are that much passionate that you let's say scored the first point, and after that you needed to go to the hospital, but said no, I have the chance to win the tournament, right? And that's why it was some like an urgent case.
That was the problem. If I'd lost that game or drawn the game, I'm sure I would have withdrawn. But I had the bad luck of winning the game, and so. I'm leading the tournament. I cannot leave when I'm leading a tournament. No way I'm going. Then what happened is my wife said, "You need to retire." My cardiologist said, "You need to retire." I said, "No way I'm retiring. Chess is my life, woman. I'm not retiring." So I played, but then I had a new problem in that I would go to this Saturday Gambito. That's where I got the Game 45 tournament, 4 games, And what happened was, I would start my game, and I would start feeling like I was having a heart attack again. I was getting like chest pain, and I went to the hospital 2-3 times from this. And my wife was going like, "Are you nuts? You need to retire. You're going to drop dead at the tournament, right?" Yeah. And then one time, I was having excruciating heart pain, just like when I had the heart attack. And they gave me morphine and said, "Does that feel better?" And I said, "No." Then they gave me more morphine. "Does that feel better?" "No." And then they said, I can't legally give you any more after this last morphine shot. So they gave me 3rd morphine shot and said, "Does that feel better?" I said, "No." And then later on, my cardiologist saw that. He went, you had that much morphine and you still had pain? That's not because they couldn't find anything.
They said no diagnostics for that.
There's no, but they said all the tests show you didn't have a heart attack.
Oh.
The cardiologist told me you have PTSD.
Oh.
And what's going on
traumatic
is
stress disorder.
Yeah, what happens is my subconscious mind, when it went to that tournament, doesn't want to play because it's so scared of having another heart attack. So the mind creates fake heart pain, because he said that if you have that much morphine and you were in a terrible accident, you would feel no pain. You had so much morphine in you. It's impossible that the pain wouldn't go down, but your pain didn't go down 1 iota. That means it was created by the mind. And they told me, now you have to go see a psychiatrist. And I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist, to fix the PTSD. And my Buddhist teacher, he's a Buddhist Lama, like a Buddhist monk. He came from New York and visited us. And I told him about this. And he said, "Oh, just do this meditation, And I did it for like about a week and a half. And pain just completely went away. And it's never come back. And my doctor said, "Well, it's a placebo syndrome because you believe in him so strongly that that it works. And I said, well, who cares? It works, right?
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
works
I
anyway.
don't care if it's a placebo or not placebo. It worked.
Mhm.
So that's fine with me, you know?
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much for describing this.
Mhm.
Another anecdote, because you have a lot of them, of course, we cannot allow
Mhm.
more than three, but this one
Mhm.
probably would be a very good one. Just briefly, if you can. I know that I am just making a constraint, but please
Sure.
briefly. Do you remember one of the story related to martial arts that you get from one of the guy at the age 38 and you just beat him, remember?
I don't remember that.
You mentioned one of the interviews that you just, let's say, have the sparring match with one of the guy. You didn't have any
Okay,
experience.
okay.
Remember
Is this
that?
the one I lost? Is this the one I lost?
As far as I know, that you beat him, even if you didn't have that much experience as him.
Okay,
Probably the other one.
Okay, because there's so many that
Yeah, of
I
course,
don't know
of
which
course.
one you mean. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. No, and it's a guy at the club. A guy at the club who was a third-degree black belt. I did martial arts when I was a kid because I was on the spectrum and because Indian in the '60s, living in this neighborhood.
Mhm.
I was beaten up a lot. So what I did was I was self-taught in martial arts.
Wow.
I went to every library and I got every martial arts book I could. And I studied on my own.
Mhm.
And I discovered I had an ability for it, So I've never gotten a belt or anything. My son was in it for many, many years
Mhm.
uh, in Shaolin Kung Fu. But I beat the third degree black belt, when we were sparring,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't know what that means, but it means I did reach a certain level in
Mhm.
it, even though I don't have a belt. I can't say I'm like,
But anyway, you have
some,
something like, I would say, in a quotation mark, magical ability to make some kind of a little bit of miracles, right? Writing, beating the guy, something like playing even the heart attack, something like a little bit of stuff that is very difficult to explain
well,
in a normal way.
yeah, I have I mean, I've always had very crazy fast reflexes. My reflexes are
Mhm.
abnormally fast, which is in martial arts
Yeah,
any
super
fighting
important.
is a huge advantage because you can hit the guy 4 times before he knows what's going on, right? If
Yeah,
you hit the
yeah.
guy 4 times fast, I can still snatch a dime, like 10 cents.
Mhm.
If you give me a 16-year-old with incredible reflexes, and he places the dime on his
Mhm.
hand, and my hand will be here.
Yeah.
I will be able to do this and grab the
Grab it.
dime.
Mhm.
I will be able to do that out of 15 times. I'll grab it 14.
Whoa.
Yeah, I still can do that.
Yeah.
I have incredibly fast reflexes. Like I'll grab that dime before he can close his
Yeah.
hand.
Got it. Got it. Thank you very much. Another one, because there are a lot of stories. We can just afford another one.
Mhm.
I would
I
like you
can go a little bit longer, by the way, than
something like
I
one
can go
hour,
like
15
maybe.
minutes, something like that.
Yeah, hour and 50, hour and 20.
Oh,
It's fine. I
excellent.
just have a lesson. I
Okay,
just have a
great.
lesson after, so it's fine. Yeah,
Great. Okay,
go
thank you
ahead.
very much.
Mhm.
I would like to ask you about very similar effect that is pretty important, especially for you because you are an international master. And
Mhm.
to let's say ask you if you can confirm the Dunninger-Kruger effect. The more you know, the less you feel that you do not know anything. And if you just make the
Yeah,
relationship into the
right.
guys at the chess.com, that one of the guy from this group that you recently mentioned at David
Oh, yeah.
Evine Rabin wanted to beat, and I'll just put it away, okay?
Yeah. I get so many messages. People think it's really cool to be, like well known, like famous, like in the chess world. It's not any fun at all. I get like a ridiculous number of messages each day. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I try not to be rude and I try to answer everyone.
Yeah.
But I get crazy messages. This guy contacted me last week, and he said, I'm a highly skilled player. Like, well, what do you mean by that? Do you mean do you beat your people at the coffee shop? Like, what do you mean
Yeah.
highly skilled? Okay, like, and he said, um, I I feel I can compete in the top 10 in the, like I can beat the people in the top 10 in the world. And I said, what's your rating? I'm unrated, like, but I know I know that I could get there. And I said, well, okay, the way to get there, okay, I was very polite. I said, you got to get yourself rated. Then you got to move your rating up and up and up and up until you're one of the top players in the world. And then you get invitations. And he said, no, but like, I don't want to wait that long. I want to play them now. How can I get invitations now as an unrated to, I can beat Magnus. I can beat, like Nepo, all these guys, Perugia. I can take them. I know.
I know the tricks.
And somehow he thought that because I'm like some chess writer, I can say, Fide, I insist that you put this guy in the next Vaikanze. He must be seeded into Group A in Vaikanze. Like, I have no power. Like, he somehow thought I have the power to put him in. I said, I have no influence. Will you just let me go? I have work to do. But the guy, some people are just relentless. They. And other people, they want to be. Because there's a 5,000 friend limit on
Facebook.
On Facebook, I get like about 5-7 friend requests per day, and some of them, like today, they're really insistent. You have to friend me. I said, I'll friend you if you. What I do is I friend the ones that are really insistent, and I said, I'll friend you, but someone has to drop, and he said, why do you have to wait till someone drops? Just unfriend someone. And I said, I am supposed to just unfriend someone just to let you in? No, you have to wait. Believe me, I offend people all the time. Someone will drop me, I promise. So.
Yeah, excellent. And very briefly, if you can explain the effect of Dunninger-Kruger effect, how it is impacting you or maybe your friends who are pretty high in the rating scale. For example, Masters, International Masters, and Grandmasters. Do they have something like the perception that the higher you get, the less you know in general sense? Is it something like that?
Well, I think the higher you get, the more you realize that you're not a very good chess player. Okay,
that's what I mean.
The people who barely know chess think they're phenomenal. Like this guy, who seed me into the next big tournament with Magnus. That guy was Dunning-Kruger. Okay, just completely clueless about his place in reality. As you the thing I notice about students is the lower the student, the more confident they are. They'll look at a position for 20 seconds. This is the move, like, well, how the hell do you know? You haven't analyzed it. You've got to go past the superficial, right? The way to stay weak is to be superficial. You just look at a position and you think you know all the answers. That's the sign of a weak player, okay? But I've seen Dunning-Kruger in very high-rated players too. Danny Kopek, Danny Kopek. He was a professor. He lived in San Diego in the 80s, and we were good friends. And we would go to each other's house and study together. And he was rated, he was like what you would call a weak IM, right? Like, I mean, very, like thank God I made it to IM, like FIDE, just barely making it. US, like I was not an IM, okay, at the time. And I would easily beat him in Blitz. Like he would score only like 1 or 1.5 out of 10 against me, but he's the IM, right? And, anyway, this was back in the early 80s, and Karpov was world champion. And he said, if I had a chance to play Karpov, I know I could beat him in a match. And like, I don't want to offend the guy, like, so I go, okay, yeah. But I'm thinking inside, I'm like, in my mind, I'm going, what the freaking hell? You think you could beat Karpov? Are you crazy? He's rated like, he's rated like 450 points higher rated than you. Like, are you insane? And also Grandmaster Bolinas said the same thing to me. He was like this was late in his life too. When he was, he was like about a USCF 2330 player. Yeah. And he said, if I got a chance to play the top guys, I know I could beat them. And it's like, and another guy said that too. Another 2375 player said that. And it's like, guys, no, no, no. The rating means something. You would lose. You will not beat them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is some insane thing you have in your
Yeah.
head where you're grossly inflating your own ability, and
Mm-hmm.
grossly underestimating the other guy's ability.
Yeah, maybe I'll just
So,
put one short anecdote from my life because 1 year ago I have beaten the Grandmaster for the first time. Not on the board,
okay,
it was the
okay,
online, but the first time
okay,
Grandmaster. But I have never played
okay,
some strong guys, and what I
right,
was proud of, most people probably were a little bit surprised, but my viewers were not surprised because they knew that I was proud not because I beat him, because I played the best of my ability, and then he slipped, and then I won. And I just analyzed the game. There was no some like a big flaws, big blunders at this game, both sides. But at the end of the, let's say, at the end of the game, at the end game, he just slipped away, and after that, I won the game. But I just provided the analysis. I show all the lines. I show my thinking process. I told my audience, if you would be playing the same way, I mean with thinking, right? With, let's say, getting, let's say, further, trying to check out simple traps, making the coherent plan, then you can make the same performance no matter whom you play against, right? The
right,
only reason
right.
is just the complexity of position and how quickly you are lost. And that's why as you provided sometimes there are some hallucinations or some like being, let's say, a little bit cocky that I beat Grandmaster once. Now I am the same level as the Grandmaster because I beat him. Therefore I must know the same level. Therefore I'm just Grandmaster
Right.
automatically, right?
But see, what you said there also brings up another point. Is okay. We all have a rating. Let's say your rating is 2250. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you're playing a grandmaster who's rated 2500. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can easily play 200 points over your rating, 250 on any given day. You can play like a 2500.
Yeah.
And on any given day, the 2500 could play like a 2250. Okay. If that happens, if that crosses, I'll give you an example. Okay. I remember one time in the early Gambitos, my rating was like close to 2600. I was about 2580 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I got paired with an 1895 player. Okay. I had white. I outplayed him. I won a pawn. He defended very well in the rook ending, but I'm up a pawn. And then the guy just was making all the right moves and I couldn't beat him. And I went, oh my God, I'm going to draw with an 1895 player. This is a nightmare, And I just kept pressing and pressing and pressing and pressing.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, like I did a desperado thing where I sacrificed several pawns so that I could queen first, and I get the rook and king against him, king and pawns, and I miscalculated and I lost.
Oh.
So I'm almost 2600. This guy's 1895. He's down a pawn, and he wins. So what I'm saying is anyone can play like a jackass, and anyone can play well. You can beat anyone. I've beaten Kasparov when he was world champion in a blitz game, although I can't say I beat him. I mean, I won on time in a losing position in 5-minute game. We played 3-5-2 games, 5-minute with 2-second increment.
Yeah.
But one game I drew him legitimately. I got a legitimate draw with black. I defended well. He couldn't beat me. I drew. I outplayed him in the game I lost. I outplayed him, but he, when the clocks got low, I had no chance. He just, but he flagged, okay? And so, but my point is, anyone can beat anyone. Like if a schmuck like me can beat a reigning world champion, even it's just a blitz game, okay? Or draw a reigning world champion, then that means an 1800 can easily beat a 2300 in a given game, or even a 1750 can beat a 2300. The 2300 can hang a queen. The 2300 can miscalculate. You can play like it. You can be inspired. You're the 1750, but you play like a genius that game.
Yeah.
So the rating is not a fixed entity. It's a moving target. It goes up and down, up and down. So don't ever think, well, I'm playing this weak cream puff and I'm going to beat him easily. No, you might lose, and don't ever think, oh my God, I have no chance. This guy's like it's like I'm facing a mountain here.
Yeah.
No, you can beat him because the mountain may not have slept well. The mountain may have gotten into a fight with his girlfriend 10 minutes before the round. You have a chance, okay? Don't give up.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just always repeating to my audience that the only thing that matters is how much effort you did in the game and how much you learned from the game. The outcome is not important. In the long term, because I have been playing chess for 25 years, I understood that the performance is a way more important if you enjoy the game, if you get maximum out of you, and if you are proud of your games. No matter if you win or lose, but if you are make a great resistance, if you get original ideas, probably that counts, especially for the players who are not professional ones. And now let's go into one of the stuff that I would like to point out, because you just, let's say, touch upon a little bit about the improvement. What are the most important things for the players rating, let's say, 1300 up to 1700 to get better? I mean, the tips or pieces of advice to get better when you're, let's say, strong beginner.
When you want 1300 to get to 1700.
No. I mean the guys from 1300 to 1700 to put them into, let's say, 22, 23.
To go higher.
Yeah.
To go higher.
Yeah, to go higher.
There's so many things you can do to get better. It's very, very easy to get better in chess. Don't let people fool you into thinking it's hard, okay? I was rated 1795 at age almost 18. In fact, at age 18, when I was 18 years old, I was not yet 1800. And you can become, I became an IM, right? And so, and I think a really strong IM, like tipping on GM strength.
Yeah.
It's very, very easy to get better in chess. All you have to do is you have to increase your internal database, okay, of chess pattern recognition. You have to do tons and tons and tons of tactics. You have to go over loads of annotated games. The database games are not going to help you very much. They must be annotated, where they explain, a stronger player explains.
Yeah.
You can do a million different things. You can get into good physical conditioning, for instance. You know, chess tournaments are not athletic events. Some of them are like these 3-day tournaments. Oh my God. What I used to do when I was young, I would go play in these Los Angeles tournaments, and you know, the game would, at the final, it's 3 full days of playing. The game ends at 10 p.m. And then I have a 3-hour drive. You stop somewhere to eat. I get home at 1:30 in the morning. What I would do then is, I'm just like dying, right? I'm so exhausted. 3 full days of playing. It's 1:30 in the morning. What I would do is I would do 2 hours of solving, chess combinations then, because you have to. I talked about this in my last interview. It's a concept of overtraining. Okay. Yeah. If you can solve combinations when you're that tired, then the last round of a tournament is nothing. You'll find that knockout punch that you need. Which you have to always do overtraining. Like even I played till age 59. Okay, and I was winning pretty much almost all the tournaments I was playing in still at age 59 at the Gambito. Okay, I was winning at least 60-75% of the time. Okay. And there were strong players. There's 2300s. There's one other IM that comes regularly. But I realized I have to get into physical conditioning. So what I did was I would work out. I couldn't keep up this pace deep into my 50s, but in my early 50s and late 40s, what I would do is one day I would work out 2.5 hours, and the next day 3.5 hours, and then I would take Friday off, so that when Saturday came, I have like all this energy, right? Like say you had a rest day on Friday, and so I had incredible energy then on Saturday. And also you can be smart about things, like people drink coffee, I drink 80 cups of coffee a day. I would get completely off caffeine, and I would only have caffeine on the day I played, and I would have it all day long, just a little bit at a time all day long. When you have no caffeine in your system and you drink coffee just once a week, it hits you like it's cocaine. You think you've just taken crack, right? Like you go, when you drink a cup of coffee. And so you're super alert all day long. You can easily raise your rating just 50 points doing that, just that. But being in good physical conditioning, go to the gym and get on the exercycle under the bad fluorescent lights, and the book is moving and you're solving combinations, or your Kindle is moving. Make everything tougher for yourself. Like, have music blasting when you're studying, so that when someone starts talking loudly at a tournament, your concentration doesn't break. Everything you do is, you have to overtrain.
Yeah.
If you the greatest overtraining method I know is to do endgame studies and composed mating problems. Okay,
And we'll be talking
I had a
in a moment
student.
about it, okay? Because we'll be just showing
Okay,
some of your books and just briefly about the books. Is that okay?
okay, sure.
And I will just brag for a while, because you just discovered some of the stuff that I have done in January, because you just mentioned the overtraining, and it is the fact, because my viewers know about it, and one of my previous let's say interviewer, I mean the yesterday, Mike, was laughing about it because he knew it's something like the most internal. What I mean, I was streaming on Saturday for 8 hours. I was solving puzzles, making the puzzle racers. I'm like, who solves the puzzles faster? After that, I get into the bed and I fall something like that. Okay, I'm going sleep. I don't go into tournaments because the tournament started in 2.5 hours. And I said, no, I am totally exhausted because I have been playing. I have been solving the let's say puzzles for 5 hours, and probably I was playing the Blitz for next 4 hours. So I'm like, I was completely exhausted. I was having the night that was broken because I didn't sleep that night, and I was something like, okay, now the let's say the reward is just to go sleep. Afterwards, there was some question. I just put the text message to my friend. Is he going to the tournament? He said yes. And I told to myself, okay, let's do it. I'll just want to see what happens. The only goal to me was not to fall apart from the exhaustion, right? So I'm like asleep on the board. I did it absolutely amazing because I just programmed my mind the same as you, right? I programmed my mind not to collapse. And I won the tournament with a perfect score.
Yeah, no, it's what you did was overtrained. If you do this, okay, I guarantee you this will gain at least 100 points to your strength. But if you have time, if you have a tournament on Saturday, what you do on Wednesday, Thursday, you do if you have time, you do a massive number of combinations that day, massive number of endgame studies, massive number of composed mating problems, and then Friday a little bit. You got to one day before the tournament, you rest, you recharge. You will be so sharp at that tournament, you won't believe it. If you can do it, and when you train like that in combinations, if you have the time, you need to train till you drop, literally drop. Like if you do combinations, try to do combinations for like 10 hours straight. Like you get up in the morning till you go to bed at night, and try that. And you will not believe the results. I used to do that. Like if I had time, before the books, I had time to do this. After the books, I never had time for this because I'm swamped with work all the time.
Yeah.
But if you have time, if you have a tournament on Saturday, if you do Wednesday, Thursday, if you have the time for it, and you do 6, 8, 10 hours of combinations on both days, and then rest on Friday, do just a little bit on Friday, I tell you, you will kick some ass in that tournament, okay?
Yeah.
The patterns will be in there, and you will spot combinations and connections that you wouldn't believe you saw, you know? Don't underestimate the human brain. It can do amazing things if it's trained.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. I fully agree. Now the question from one of our teenage prodigy: what are your pieces of advice to improve calculation at chess?
Calculation. The best way to work on calculation is to do as much blindfold as you can, and blindfold chess as you can. Okay, and the easiest way to do blindfold chess is you get a chess book and don't use a board. I used to train with Tony Miles, and he told me to do that. He said he never ever used a board when he read a chess book. Now, okay, if you're 1300, you're not going to be able to do that. Okay, but if you're 2100, you can do it. You can do it. Try to get from one diagram to the next. try to read all the analysis and try to go as far as you can. Keep pushing it. But really, I would have people over. I would have students over, and I would play them blindfold. And you can play blindfold simuls. Like, don't do 10 board. You don't need to be, like George Koltanowski. Or just 2 board. If you're like trying to be a professional player, play 2 boards blindfold with a clock. You need to be under pressure. You can't take half an hour for a move. Okay, you get like you get, let's say, 15 minutes on each clock. They get 5 minutes on each clock. Or 7 or 10. You get a little more because you're playing 2. You play 15 minutes each. They get 10 minutes each. And someone yells out the moves. The other guys just play. So you get like 3 people. One guy yells out the moves. 2 are your opponents. I would do that with students. And you play for hours and hours and hours until you are just dying. The key is this overtraining. Train till you drop. Literally till you drop.
Very good method.
If you do that, your tournaments will feel so easy. You will not feel any strain. They will not feel tough to you. But the best way to improve calculation is blindfold. You have to have as clear an image as you can in your mind. With my Buddhist meditations, some of them are really complex images, and you have to hold them in your mind. It's exactly like blindfold chess. You hold that image in your mind, and you keep watch over your mind. Sometimes it starts fading, and you feel yourself drifting off. Then when you notice that, you bring it back. Or sometimes you feel the mind is too excited, and then you have to like calm it a bit, but you train like that, and you will get to a point where if you have the time, you can calculate 40 moves ahead if it's a forcing line, or like not too many branches. If there's branches, you can't calculate very far. But if it's a forcing line, you can go very far. You can calculate 30 moves.
Wow, impressive. Another question from our friend C Complex. If you would like to talk about a little bit about good time management in advanced level on the board for classical time control. Good time management.
The great cure for time trouble is to know your openings deeply. Don't experiment in the opening. If you have time pressure issues, don't experiment in the opening. Bang out your first. Time trouble should not even be an issue now in a classical time control game, because all you have to do is play some variation where the book goes to move 30, and you have 10 moves in 2 hours, right? You don't have 40 moves, you have 10 moves. But the other thing is, don't be a perfectionist, okay? You just factor in that you're going to make some inaccuracies, some mistakes. The people who get into time pressure are perfectionists. And here's an example of how I manage my Gambito games, Game 45. What I do is, because I write so many books, whatever opening book I'm working on, then that's the one I play. And I know it really well, like better than the opponent. And so often I get a considerable time edge out of the opening. I'm usually up about 7 to 8 minutes by about move 20. Now, for an IM, I'm a weak middle game player. So this is my weakest part of the game. So what I do is I actually catch up to the opponent. I use up 8 extra minutes just so I give myself a little bit of an advantage in my weakest portion. But I'm a really good end game player, a very good late middle game player, and I'm a good blitz player. So all I want is a 5-minute game with them. I just want to set up a 5-minute game. And I would actually prefer to keep a 1 minute, 2 minute advantage over them. I want to go into that blitz game where I have 6 and they have 4, and I'm in my strongest portion of the game. And then it's very hard for them to defend. Your pressure is relentless. If they play quickly, you play quickly. If they're slow, you take your time. But keep that 1-2 minute edge. This is for rapid, of course. His question was for classical. Classical is very easy to keep out of time trouble. Don't be a perfectionist and play long forcing variations that go to move 23. And so you can bang out 23 moves in 5 minutes, and then you don't have very far to get to move 40 to control, unless it's a sudden death. I don't know which one he means,
Okay, thank you very much. Now the question for one of your repertoire books. I'll just, let's say, divide it into two parts because it's a little bit longer. I will be reading slowly. Especially for black, it is difficult to find openings that are sound, surprising, and hard to prepare against. One of such systems is the Gurgenidze setup in one of your repertoire books. And now, the question. Even if white prepares against it, there are some subtleties and the engine evaluation is secondary. Would you agree with this assessment, and which other black systems fall into this categorization?
There's many, actually. You're probably talking about opening repertoire modern defense book?
Yes, probably.
Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah. The Gurgenidze is a weird system. Okay, it's the guys who you face, after you play that system for a year or two, you're going to be completely familiar with these positions. And the other guy, you know, he might know the book, the opponent might know the book, but he's not going to know the subtleties. There's no way. Also, there's, like Petrosian's variation in the Winnower, you know, where you play e4, e6, d4, d5, knight c3, bishop b4, e5, and then you play b6 instead of c5. And when they play queen g4, attacking the g7 pawn, you move your bishop from b4 back to f8. Now, if the computer, you put this on Stockfish or Fritz or something, it's going to go, you're completely losing, you know, black, but white is completely winning. No, sorry, I don't agree with your plus 1.3 assessment. It's perfectly fine for black. Black scores very well in that line. White is way ahead in development with space, but white has trouble making any breaks in the position. Black has all the breaks. And so computers get fooled. That's a position where a computer easily gets fooled. Another one is, Karsten Hansen and I recently wrote a book on the Norwegian rat. And, you know, like, we knew this was coming. Norwegian rat, stupid opening. You know, like, it's Norwegian rat is e4, g6, d4, knight f6. And when they push on your knight with e5, your knight goes to h5. And Magnus Carlsen has played zillions of games on Banter Blitz with this, right? On Chess24. And he beats the crap out of GMs with it, right? If it was so unsound, he wouldn't be able to do that, okay? But you get really, really alien positions that look like some contorted French or some bizarre Alekins where everything is off somehow. And Karsten sends me games all the time. I'm having trouble playing right now, Blitz, because of, I'm always having hand and elbow issues because I type so much. So I'm not playing any Blitz right now, but Karsten is. He shows me games where, you know, he beats some IM or GM with a Norwegian rat. And if I didn't know that guy was an IM or a GM, in some of the games, I would guess that they're no stronger than 15, maybe 1600. Okay. And the reason is these guys are great players within their realm of knowledge. Okay. You take them out of that realm of knowledge into some quirky position they don't understand the subtleties of, and suddenly you can slice off 500 points from a GM. Okay, easy in a Blitz game, easily. Okay, so if you play quirky, slightly offbeat lines, now it doesn't work if you go to the same club and you play the same guy over and over, because then they know what you're going to play. In that case, you have to move around all the time. Don't let them catch you with engine analysis. Don't let them keep moving, be a moving target. But if you play in big tournaments, you're not playing the same people over and over. There's this obsession with main lines, like somehow they're only the popular lines are acceptable lines. Anything offbeat is just wrong, you know?
And cannot be playable at all, right?
These things are just fashions, you know? Like they're just pure fashion. Why is everybody playing the Rosalimo? The Rosalimo is crap for white. I mean, I play it, you know, sometimes, but it's just, you don't get an advantage with the Rosalimo. Like, I mean, but it's the law. If someone plays c5, knight c6, you must play bishop b5. It's the law, you know? These things are just, I don't think you get any more of an advantage with mainline openings than you do with offbeat lines. Like if I play a London with white, people go, oh, ha ha, the London, ha ha ha. You know, do you really get an advantage on the white side of Roy Lopez against a booked up guy that knows the analysis to move 30 and has put in hundreds of hours in that position where they know every detail? Do you get a bigger advantage there? Or do you, nobody will study against the London because they're not afraid of it. Nobody will study against B3. Karsten plays B4 on his first move. He wrote a book on the orangutan, and he beats GMs all the time with it because, you know, are you going to sit there and go like, well, okay, I have a limited amount of study time. You know, I think the best system for me to work on right now are Norwegian rat and orangutan. That's what I'm going to put all my time in. No, you're going to work on dragon, Nadorf, whatever, all the popular lines, Roy Lopez, you know, whatever. But everybody uses up their study time on the popular lines. So it's just foolish to actually play. If you're a club level player and you keep playing the main popular lines, you're going right into the teeth of your opponent's preparation.
Moving target, right?
Yeah, you're going right into the teeth of the other guy's preparation. Play something offbeat that you know and they don't, and suddenly they become really weak players.
And now one question, very brief if you can. What engine do you use with your work, and how do you work with engines with the students? For example, if you're analyzing the games, do you allow your students to put the analysis, or first they comment and afterwards they just look at the analysis from the engines?
I always use whatever is the strongest engine, but I often use 3 engines, 2 or 3 different engines, at least 2 with my books. I like to compare all the time. And if there's a big difference, I want to know why. And when right now I'm using like Stockfish 15 because it's the strong. I find it's quite the move. I like the humanness of the moves, and it's very, very strong. You know, it's very strong. I did 2 of my books with Stockfish 14, and then I did the edit with Stockfish 15. And the edit, Stockfish 15 caught several things that 14 missed.
Whoa! So
it makes a difference. It makes a difference. But here's my thing with students: I never allow them engines during a lesson. I do not want them. I want them to use their brain. Okay. I turn off engines. I go on, you know, like I go on the server. I turn off both engines. You know,
got it.
I allow myself to turn mine on if it's a question about an assessment. But I don't want the engine on either. I want to use my brain. It does not help. If you think it helps with the engine on, when you finish a game, like your own game. Always go over it without an engine first, then go over it with an engine and compare. Then it's good. Engine, I'm not saying don't use engine. Don't use engine the first time. But when we play, my system with students, I do the overtraining method again with them. One of my students just won national championship for kindergarten through 6th grade. He's 12 years old. He's already over 2,200. He was over 2,200 when he was 11, actually.
2200 being 11, now he's 12?
He just turned 12, and he won the national championship. He was half point behind in the last round. I think it's 6th grade he won nationals. But he'll probably be IM or GM, this student. But he in the final round, he was the other guy had a half point ahead, and he had to beat him, and he did. And you know how he did it, by the way? No. We played this quirky, weird line of, we knew the guy played the Grunfeld on him. He was white. We played this line, and the commentators, like this was on Twitch, okay, and because it was the national championship for kids, you know, and the commentators were both going, "Oh, what a terrible mistake playing this line! It's completely drawish, so drawish." He's so wrong to play it. He needs to win, and he played a drawish line, and he beat the tar out of the guy. Okay, you know why? Because we worked on that position over and over and over and over until he knows the subtleties. I would take his side with white, and he would play the Grunfeld side, and I would just keep beating him over and over and over with it. And it's supposed to be like completely drawish, right? But I believe the assessment is off in that variation. I believe that theory is wrong in that variation. So he played that line and he beat the guy. But this is the see the commentators. This is the sheep thinking that's going on. Like he didn't play the main line. He didn't play a sharp main line. He played a drawish sideline that he understood 100 times better than the other guy, and he knew exactly what to do at every situation. See, if he had played the sharp line, that kid would have known it inside out. His coach, whoever his coach was, and him would have worked on it for hours and hours and hours.
But this sideline, like playing against the engine, right? Because you are just having memorized.
It's
the line,
exactly like playing
the engine.
You're facing an engine and maybe IM or GM coach.
Yeah, of course.
Like combination.
Combined.
Combination. But because he played the sideline, the coach and the kid probably said, well, yeah, come on, completely
it's
equal.
Not important.
Not important. Let's not waste time on this one.
Yeah.
That's how you catch people, is through subtleties. You don't catch them. See, everybody wants to win because they want to hit the other guy with some double X-Slam on move 23 and a drag. And first of all, if you're a club player, how often are you going to reach that position on move 23? Twice in your whole life, but you're going to spend 100 hours working on that line. It's a waste of time. Go for a line where it's below the radar, where people aren't afraid of it, don't study it, but then master the details. That's how I teach all my students. And the other one is just overtraining. I don't care if the student is rated 1,000 or 1,200. All we do is we reach the position and then we play. And so they're playing an IM every week. They're playing an IM over and over and over. So when they play their club level players, after a while they feel weak. These guys feel weak, right? Because they're not used to playing at 2,500. They're used to playing like a 2,000 or an 2,100 or whatever. But even if they lose that game, they realize these guys their opponents are not playing strong moves.
Definitely. And now let's go into the last segment of our conversation, because we would like to, let's say, show some of your books, and I would like you to elaborate a little bit about the books. I'm showing the covers about the books, therefore my audience know which books you are talking about. Let's start. We'll be having 6 or 7 books, right? Some like 2 minutes per book, no more than that. And just briefly, what are the benefits of, let's say, studying this book, or something like what you, let's say, wanted to put with the book to bring benefits into the students' development. The first one is Chess for Hawks. Chess for Hawks.
Chess for Hawks is about maximizing your power by first analyzing who you are, what is your style, what is your strengths and weaknesses, and once you discover that, you have to use your will to force the opponent into your strength position. Let's take me for example. Okay, I'm a strong endgame player. I'm a strong positional player. I'm weak with initiative. I'm a weak attacker. I'm a good defender. Okay. So I'm very good in closed positions. The more open the position is, the weaker I get. Okay. So I will choose openings where the pawn structure is either rigid or it's blocked. I'll always try to get and of course, if you're opposite of me, you do the opposite. Then if you're a tactician, aggressive guy, attacker, you want to open, you want the initiative, even if it costs you a pawn, whatever. But the trick is to first be completely honest with yourself, discover who you are, okay? Don't BS, don't say that you're tall when you play more like, some boring technician, okay? I'm a boring endgame technician. I'm not tall, okay? I want to be tall, but life didn't make me tall, unfortunately. So be who you are, first of all, okay? Just be who you are, and then force the other guy into that position. Like if you know that you're playing a guy at a club, you know what he plays, search every open, think about all the lines that you could play on him, and then find the one where you'll be at your strongest and he will be at his weakest. That's the key for Chess for Hawks. But it's just an in-depth analysis of your own style, which is very important, actually.
Okay, another book, if we can just go. Clinch It. Clinch It. By the way, these 3 books are the trilogy. You probably know because I just show you the, let's say the photo to these books, that I love these books, even if I haven't read them so far. But when it was the funny situation, maybe I'll just point it out, that one of the let's say books, chess collectors books probably, right? I posted the let's say not posted. I just commented that the 3 books that Cyrus wrote are the best ones, and it was some like one of the guys was a little bit some like a pissed off. What, 3 books? He has written many, right? And I just corrected this. These are the 3 books that everybody who is the, let's say, amateur, some like a passionate player must have. Not just 3 books that you write, right? Because you have written over 50 books, but these 3 books are the absolute, let's say, gold, at least from my standpoint, from the players who are below 2000, right? Especially such players. And now we elaborate a little bit about the books Clinch It.
Clinch It is just, it's the biggest problem. What is the biggest problem in chess? Okay, every single week I get students come in, they have a crushing position, they're 2 pawns up, like like a professional player could win that position in their sleep, right? And they blow it into either a draw or they somehow lose the game. And we go through, like Clinch It goes through why we lose games or why we can't win games and what we can do to win them. Like there's a million reasons. I mean, there's just a million reasons why we don't win games. I mean, I think
probably
I listed like
saying,
several.
the hardest thing at chess is to win the winning position, right? This is the saying.
Oh yeah. Part of it too is I think psychological, because what's your mindset when you have a winning position? Your mindset is, oh boy, I'm gonna win, you know, like, and there's a feeling of relaxation and waves of euphoria and joy, like, oh, I'm about to win this game, you know, like I can I don't have to work, you know. But what's the opponent's mind situation?
The opposite.
He's a wounded animal in the woods being hunted. Okay, he's being hunted, chased, and this animal will be really, really dangerous because they have nothing to lose. Okay, I once saw a documentary where a rattlesnake came into this chipmunk's like den, you know, and there was this mother chipmunk and the father chipmunk, and the babies. Okay, and the father grabbed all the babies and would take them out one by one, and the mother faced down that rattlesnake, and the rattlesnake bit the mother, and the mother bit the rattlesnake, and the rattlesnake went, you know, like, what the freaking hell, you're a chipmunk, I'm a rattlesnake, this is not supposed to happen, I have a 1 game, you know, how dare you bite me? And the rattlesnake bit again, and the chipmunk bit back, and the rattlesnake again went, what the frick, you know, I'm not used to this. But your opponent is that vicious mother chipmunk trying to protect her children while the father takes the children away. Okay, and so the mind of desperation is an inventive one. They find all sorts of ways to try to trick you. They're devious, you know. They'll look for they'll try crazy risks that they normally would never try, that might jar you, like hey, what is this? Why did you bite me? You know, that kind of thing, right? And so you need to have the mind of not confidence, but a mind of, I better be careful. This guy is going to be at his most dangerous. That's the correct mindset to have when we have a winning game. I'm always at my height of alertness when I have a 1 game, because I know they're going to try something. I know it, you know. So don't relax. Just don't relax there.
Stay alert. And in the meantime, I always remind my audience that if you are, for example, 1700 lichess, right? You're playing against 2300 lichess. If you just snatch, for example, a piece, so like he just blundered or just won with the combination, then a new game starts. It's not the same game. It's new game. You are having the advantage, and your idea is to win this game. Everything what is in the past disappears. You're playing some like the testing game, but you need to be the best out of you to defeat this opponent, right? And this is one of the idea. Another book I would like to address you, because it is the trilogy. The first, Chess for Hogs, the second, Clinch It, and the first one, Winning Ugly at Chess, or Win Ugly in Chess. What would you say about this book?
winning ugly is exactly what we just talked about. Okay,
Uh-huh.
where you're in the bad position often.
Yeah.
Okay, and or you can't find a way to win, and you're looking for something to disrupt. There was a match. Paul Morphy was just killed everyone in the
Mm-hmm.
European tour. Okay,
Yeah.
he played this guy named Barnes. Okay, who was one of the top players. I think his name was Thomas. First name Thomas Barnes. I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure. But he had a tough time against Barnes. I mean, he beat Barnes. Okay,
Yeah.
but in game one, okay, let me give you an example of what happened in game one. Morphy was white. He opened E4, and Barnes opened with F6.
Whoa.
Okay. Okay. Now that's just a pure insult. Okay. I'm the best player in the world. Okay. I'm the dominant best player in the world.
Yes.
And this
you're mocking me.
ass,
Like Magnus Carlsen
this
recently,
ass is
remember?
playing
F3?
F6 on me.
Magnus
It's
Carlsen
my
recently
pure-
played F3.
Pure mockery, right? And predictably, Morphy went crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Just went absolutely
He
crazy.
took
And
it like an insult, right?
overextended and lost the game.
Yeah.
Okay. But he started the match with a loss from 1e4 f6. Okay. Now that's winning ugly. Okay. Right. That is winning ugly. Winning ugly just means, you just finding resources, looking deeply for resources in positions of desperation, and or if you're desperate to win and it looks like a draw, finding something to jar the opponent, to trick the opponent, to disrupt. It's all about disruption. Okay, the winning side, like if you're like a dictator of a country, okay, you don't want rebellion, even a little bit of rebellion, even a hint, a symbol of rebellion, someone graffiti, dictator is an ass, like, hey, I want that guy found and I want him executed. Okay. Like, but that's the thing. You've got to start the rebellion. Okay. You've got to shake his mind. You've got to shake the opponent's mind, and you've got to fluster them. You've got to put them off their smooth track. They're on a smooth track to victory, and you gotta put some kind of ambush, put a stone on the track, but put some dynamite on the track, something, but something to get them off track. That's what the book is about.
Okay, thank you very much. Another one, tactical training.
Tactical training is, I think, it's so important if you're a club level player to have basic geometric patterns in your mind. This book maps out like every theme, from
from tactical
deflection,
motives?
tactical motives all the way to Zugzwang and Schwizzenzug or whatever. But it goes through every tactical theme. What you've got to do is you've got to master tactical themes over and over and over. And in the book, I use a lot of endgame studies, and I use a few mating problems too in that book. Essentially, when a student shows me a game that's like, let's say a C player, like 1400, let's say 14 to 1599 rated player, I will show them 3 places they could have won and 3 places where the opponent could have won. Very typical. Okay. And it's always some really basic tactic, like just some tactic that a GM or IM would see in a like less than a second. It is. It just pops out at you. But if you just master the basics of this, your rating can go up hundreds of points. Tactical awareness is so important. See, people have to stop thinking chess is some art form. Okay, it's not. For Magnus, yes. For Nepo, yes. For Ferrugia, yes. It's an art form. For club level players, it's just like trade school. You go there, you learn to be an electrician. You learn there to be a plumber. Okay, there's nothing to it. You just learn, and it's the repetition of the patterns. Go through the book not once, but 3 times. Try to go through the book in 2 days, like two straight 8-hour sessions and solve every problem in the book, like 400 problems,
Yeah.
like 400, 500, whatever number there are. Try to do that.
Yeah.
But that's what the book is about.
Okay, just very brief summary of mine. Dan Heisman, probably you know this guy, right? Dan Heisman was talking about that all of the people who are not titled 1, if they want to boost via, maybe stabilize them, like solidify via fundamentals, they must know the tactics up to 2 to 3 moves, no more than that. So I'm like studying 2000 tactics, but they need to be master these tactics up to 2 moves, no more than that. And then just they stabilize the game, do not make some super simple blunders. And now let's go into next book, because just we have a few more. The same title.
Keep going. I still have a while to my lesson.
Okay,
I still have a while.
okay,
So
no problem.
keep going.
Okay, thank you very much. This is the book, the same title, but the subtitle is Tactical Training in the End Game, and how this book is different from the other one. Tactical Training in the End Game.
This one is mostly endgame studies and endgames from real play, but what I mainly wanted to show is chess is not any less tactical in simplified positions. Anyone who's done endgame studies, okay, we just, Karsten and I just put a book out on Smyslov's endgame studies, the Smyslov endgame book. There's no way players under 2300 can solve these consistently. Okay, they're so ridiculously difficult to solve, these endgame studies, and you don't even have to try to. You don't have to solve them. All you need to do is try to solve them. You can fail and then look up the answer. And when you look up the solution, you get new amazing patterns. But I cannot stress enough to viewers how important endgame studies are. And I think composed mating problems less so, but I think mates in 2 are very valuable. But you don't need to do mates in 3; they're too difficult. 3, 4, way too difficult for club level players. But endgame studies, you don't have to solve them. Don't think you're going to solve them. Okay, you're not. They're too difficult. I can solve like 15, 20% of them. That's it.
Whoa.
Okay. So, but that's not the point. The point is you just try for 5 minutes. If you have no idea how to proceed, you just look up the answer, and you just keep doing this, and you will get patterns, I promise you, that are so wildly different than like the Lee Chess or the chess.com tactics. Those are the trade school tactics. Okay, those are trade school tactics. These are exceptional patterns that that will just like you go, oh my God, you got to be kidding, type of patterns. Like you cannot believe, like if you go over Watawa's endgame studies, I mean, you just can't imagine that chess can be this amazing.
Yeah.
You just can't imagine,
And one question about this specific book, of course, the question is to most of the books as well, but specifically this one, how did you figure out the positions? I mean, what are the selection of the positions? Did you, let's say, choose them from the database? Did you work out them? Did you make something like the random selection? What are the positions all taken into the book? How did you get them?
I got them mainly because when I retired in 2019 from tournament chess, I retired a little bit before the pandemic. And what I thought was, well, okay, I'm retired now. I can now play chess for fun. I don't have to study the stupid dragon or the Najdorf. I could just, I could just do chess for fun. So I got into endgame studies, and I was just blown away just the fact how incredible they are. So I started a group with GM Max Illingworth called Chess Endgame Studies and Compositions on Facebook. It's got about 27,000 plus members right now, in only just a few years, because we started in October of 2019. So really, less than
very nice.
A little over 2 years at the most, Anyway, these are just positions other composers or other endgame studies people posted there, and I picked what I thought were the best. And also,
And what
like
were
to
the
solve.
criteria? What were the criteria to be the best one? Because it's something like, let's say, the definition what you thought as the best for your readers and for the players who will be, let's
Um,
say, reading the book.
there is no best. I mean, I
I mean,
just go
from your
by
perception, from
intuition.
your perspective, of
Yeah,
course.
but intuition, like there has to be some lesson learned, like clarity from the thing. Um, I, I want some shock value. I want the move to go like, wow, like how could this be?
Yeah.
Like I want some shock value in there, and I want subtlety and depth. Like I want it where the obvious thing does not work. Like with the club level player will go, that's the answer.
The expert
And
that we were
100%.
talking about at the beginning, right? The expert they want to change,
Right.
challenge Magnus Carlsen. These ones, right?
Well, no, not that one. But
I'm
like
mocking
I'm just,
a little bit. I'm mocking.
yeah. But just the obvious move is the wrong move, and the anomaly move, the strange, impossible move is the right one. Those are what I look for. But see, I mean, a lot of these, I downloaded studies from all my favorite composers, and so I do studies myself, and so many of the ones I picked were just ones I tried, and I thought this is an incredible study, and so that's the one I picked. Like, I mean, because for every one that I put in the book, I'll reject 9 others, right?
Yeah,
So I picked what I thought were the cream of the
creme
the
de la
very
creme,
best.
right? Creme de la creme.
Right, exactly.
Okay, thank you very much. And another one, this one is of course connected because you recently just put very much effort into the endgame studies and some like showing the beauty of chess in from different perspective, especially if you can elaborate just a little bit about when you started out something like discovering this beauty of chess that you haven't had the opportunity to do it when you're a practical player. And now a little bit about Rewire Your Chess Brain.
Rewire Your Chess Brain was my first book on composed works. I think it's the best book I've ever written, by the way. I don't think it, it's not, it didn't win any awards or anything, but I think it's the best book I've ever written.
Yeah.
That's when I discovered that composed works are powerful improvement tools. Okay, it's not just for people who want to look at the beauty of chess. It's not, you get that as a side benefit, but a bigger benefit, I think, for like the guy who wants to improve is you get better doing these studies. And what I try to show in the stuff in that book is impossible for people to solve. Okay, it's like if you're rated like, let's say 1900, okay, you will maybe solve between 5 and 10% of the book, no more. At the most, maybe even less. Okay, the vast majority of studies you'll get mostly the mates and 2 you'll get, but and maybe once in a while you'll get a study, especially if I truncate it and make it easy. Yeah. I try not to, I try not to get the reader too depressed with these. And every once in a while I'll truncate a study and I'll start on move 8 of the study, and then you just have to find 3 good moves and you solve it, so you'll solve those,
May I ask the question, because it's a little, let's say, interesting to us, I mean the audience as well. What are the goals then if you fail most of the studies? And what are the goals that you improve, right? Because normally something like let's say traditional perception would be, if I get the book, I should be able to read the book and comprehend all of the information. You know what I mean? And if you are talking that probably let's say 80 or 70% of the, let's say, solutions will not be available for the readers, what are the goals and benefits then?
A book like this is not going to be that popular because people they have a prejudice against composed works because they think that it doesn't help. Who is India's top trainer? You know who it is? Ramesh. Okay. He teaches Nihal Sarin. He teaches Pragananda. Guess what he does? He makes them do endgame studies, but he makes them do them blindfold without moving the pieces.
Oh my goodness.
That's his technique. That's it. Okay, that's what he does. That's his main technique. Okay, I do that with students too, but I've got to talk students. See, with me, most students, I tell them this is a really powerful learning tool. No, I want to learn the dragon. Dude, you're not going to get that move 23 position that you think you're going to get. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, this is about being better at chess, not trying to trick them with some stupid, silly computer move that and the other guy doesn't. It's you're trying to cheat on the exam. What you want to do is you want to come into the exam with notes. Oh, I've got the answers here in my hand, and I'm going to look. That's what you're trying to do. How about being a better chess player? You'll just start winning games.
Yeah,
you'll start winning games.
Yeah, that's correct.
Anyway, with Rewire Your Chess Brain, the stuff in the book is so difficult that I don't think I don't know how it's gonna sell, but I don't think the book will sell well because people will say, this is too hard, this is ridiculous, I'm not going to do it.
Just reject it, right?
Just reject it. But the trick is you've got to get this out of your mind that I have to solve it. No, you don't have to solve it. All you have to do is try to solve it, fail, and look up the answer. That's the secret. Grandmaster Bill Lombardi and I analyzed the game that I played with another guy, like maybe 35 years ago, okay, at a Los Angeles tournament. And he told me he goes over, composed mating problems and endgame studies. And I went, what? Why would you do that? What? That's just all esoteric stuff. And also, I can't do those. Those are too hard, I told him. And I'll never forget what he said to me. He said, you don't have to get the answers right. You don't have to solve them. And I went, well, what's the point then if I always get it wrong?
Yeah.
He said, just try and then look up the answer. That's what he does. Try, look up the answer. And he was right. The students that I have that followed that advice have jumped hundreds of points. Okay. It's the dragon. I want to learn to move 23 guys that don't improve very much. It's these guys are the guys that improve. During the pandemic, I have 3 students that now maybe 4 that got heavily into like endgame studies and composed works. Every one of them went up hundreds of points. Every one of them, really? all of them.
Really impressive.
So it's like steroids, basically it's like chess. You're taking steroids when you take those, because if you actually get to a point where you could solve, let's say 10% of them, do you know that like a combination in an actual chess game will look to you like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It'll look like baby kindergarten stuff to you. Okay. You can solve those. Regular tactics will look like kindergarten to you. You see, and it's again the overtraining. It's overtraining by doing this.
Got it. And now the trivia, just a little bit to wake up your brain a little bit, let's say, different direction. Of course, you said that. It's not who said that. It's you. You said that in Perpetual Chess Podcast with Ben Johnson, who just recommended when we were talking about the podcast, because once we just make the series about what are the podcasts and the offers that we promote. And now the quote of yours. Of course, I just make a little bit, let's say, change the words, but not the meaning, right? And now I will just make the quote, and you will tell us what you were referring to, right? The quote is very short. Okay?
Okay, go for it.
Our friend Cyrus Lakdawala said, it was the question actually, to Ben Johnson, is it actually easier to blow up the building or to build it up?
Yeah, that shows that it's the power of the initiative compared to defense. It's much easier when you have a crazy attacker and a really good positional player, and it's a short time. I'm the guy getting blown up. I'm the building being blown up, and the other guy is the terrorist. Okay, the other guy is I am Aldama from Mexico. Okay, and it's really annoying. Okay, because I can beat him in blitz. Whenever I play him in blitz, I beat him. Okay, I've beaten him last 3 matches, but he's 10 years. He was 10 years younger, so like he's retired now because he too had a really bad heart attack, and so he can't play now. His was much worse than mine, no.
Mm-hmm.
But when he was playing, now this is a guy that should have been a GM. I mean, he really one of the most gifted tacticians I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, what would always happen is he would just complicate and complicate and complicate and make me use up my clock and make me use up my clock.
Yeah.
And even though I'm the better blitz player, we go into the time scramble with him with 8 minutes and me with 4, and so he scores better than me because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very frustrating. So if it's a short time control tournament, the tactician has an advantage over the positional player.
Mm-hmm.
But see, I use the chess for hawk technique on him too. I won't let him complicate unless it's really unsound. I take all the life out of a position. I try to swap as much as I can.
Mm-hmm.
I pick the least fun move I can play. I do, I go after him too. It's not just one-sided is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I make his life so boring on the chessboard. I take all the life I take out of a position. If I can make the most boring move, because I know I can beat him in boring positions, you see?
Mm-hmm.
If it's a matter of subtlety, I'll beat him.
Yeah.
If it's a matter of crazy,
random positions?
irrational positions with low clocks, he'll beat me.
Yeah.
You see?
Can we make a summary of your last sentence? Because I was talking about at my previous streams that the idea, the philosophy of chess in general sense, how to beat the opponent, is make him the most uncomfortable. Do you agree on that?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Another book that we would like to talk about that you recently published is the Smyslov workbook. Can you elaborate a little bit?
Well, I went over Smyslov's studies in 2019, and they're not like Wotawa, where you go, oh my God, wow! But they're so beautiful. It's like if Capablanca was an endgame study composer. Mm-hmm. His studies are exactly like his games. They do have some amazing tactics in them, but there's something flowing and harmonious about them. Yeah. And we did a book on them, and we were so shocked because endgame studies books typically do not sell well, and we hit #1 for Amazon Chessbook new releases with that book.
Mm-hmm. And how did it happen that this book get that much attention? Something like what happened that this book I would say exploded in the sense of.
I don't understand why it hit #1. We did not think it would do that,
Mm-hmm.
Norwegian Rat hit #1 too. We went, what? We thought this crazy offbeat opening hit #1 also. Like what? We didn't expect that either, But Smyslov's style, like who's the greatest chess player of all time? Someone will say Fischer, Kasparov, Magnus Carlsen. My vote might go to Smyslov. Okay. Now that sounds nuts. Okay, that sounds nuts. Greatest chess player of all time. Smyslov became world champion. Now clearly he wasn't at the same level of world champion as a Fischer, a Kasparov, a Karpov, or he wasn't a dominant champion. Okay.
He was something like a little bit forgotten, right? If you just all of the books take into account.
Yeah, and he was a short, Botvinnik got a rematch and beat him. But
there was no drama.
There was very little drama, but he was probably the best player in the world for about 5-6 years during the 1950s. He was clearly better than Botvinnik, and he was better than Tal even probably just until Tal won the candidates.
Yeah.
Anyway, the reason I think he's the greatest chess player of all time is for 3 reasons. Okay, but it's not just about peak strength. Okay, Smyslov was a bloody candidate. In his late 60s, he played Kasparov. If he had won that match, he would have been playing for the world championship in his late 60s. That's impossible. Impossible, crazy. Right? He reached that far. So clearly, he's one of those rare people like Lasker and Korchnoi who have that longevity. Like he had incredible longevity. He was clearly one of the greatest strategists of all time, and clearly one of the greatest endgame players of all time. And he's the only chess player who reached the heights in endgame composition. No other chess player is near him. You'll see Adolf Anderson
Yeah,
was a
and games.
composer.
Mm-hmm.
Bodvinnik composed a few problems based on some games. But you nowhere near Smyslov. I mean, Smyslov just towers over every other great player as a composer. Some think he's ranked in the top like 3 to 5 of all time. He's that good. Okay, I think he might be in the top. He's easily in the top 10 of all time.
Yeah.
So to be best in the world at over the board chess, best in the world at composition, and then that incredibly rare thing of longevity. Why is Fischer better than him? Why just the dominance? That's one thing. I count 1 in Fischer's category. I count 3 in Smyslov's.
The
you
criteria.
see?
Yeah.
So so as an overall greatness in chess, Smyslov may well have been the greatest chess player of all time, or chess practitioner, because you don't play chess when you compose, but the greatest chess practitioner of all time, in that he was a jack of all trades.
Okay, just 2 or 3 short questions, and we wrap it up.
I've got to go like maybe 5 more minutes.
Yeah,
so
that's
like
why. That's why. Just 3 short questions, 1 minute for each, and we are just wrapping up. Okay.
Okay. Go for it. Yeah.
What do you enjoy the most at the process of writing? What do you enjoy the most at the process of writing?
The creativity, by far. It's that's why I write. I wouldn't write without it. If I had to follow what these, the critics that hate me, if I had to write chess books like that, I would stop writing chess books. I would just teach, and that's it. I quit, because it's not that interesting to me to write a chess book. The reason I do it is for the creative writing part of it. That's the only reason I write a chess book. I don't write it for the chess. Okay. The chess is interesting, but it's not that interesting to me. I hate the organization of it. Okay. I hate editing. I hate the busy work. Like all the technical crap I hate. Like I do it. I live through it. I get through it. But the reason I want to write a chess book is I want to put some idea out there that hasn't been there before. The creativity of the writing itself.
Okay, next question, because we'll be just making very short. Your opinion about paper books and digital learning tools. What do you think about digital and paper books? Something like these two.
I hate the world we live in where bookstores are dying. Okay, I'm a book guy, but like, remember, I do the blindfold through the book, But, it's like, unfortunately now I do all my reading, not non-chess reading. I read for about 2 hours a day at least. I have to read to get ideas, you know? But I just read all sorts of stuff. But I get it on Kindle because I can, I get headaches when I read, when the print is too small. I can make it bigger. Now I'm listening to audiobooks because I don't even have to, I have problems with my eyes because I write so much and teach so much that I have eye strain issues. So now I do my books on audiobooks. So, I mean, it's just, look, you can wish for the horse and buggy days, but you can't, the genie's out of the bottle. Okay. The books are, I see you're a book guy. I see it behind you. Like you're a guy after my heart. Okay. That's a true, that's a guy in my heart. I feel it, but I like books, but I know I'm an old guy. Okay. I like
you're dinosaurs. It's okay. Can we say in a joking way that you are coming to me after the books?
Well, yeah, I mean,
because we are just passionate about the books. And the last questions, they're literally the last one. What needs to be done to enjoy chess the fullest, from your perspective? What needs to be done to enjoy chess the fullest?
It took me 50 years to learn this, but I think honestly, you have to let go of expectation and let go of the craving to win. You have to put your ego aside. Like, you're not a real chess player. If you want to win because you want everybody to admire you and think, wow, this guy's great, this guy's so smart, this guy's so wonderful as a chess player, you're not a real chess player. You're kind of a facsimile chess player. The true chess player loves the chess. Okay? You play chess for fun. Stop memorizing long lines and play what you want to play. But even if you get a lower result from it, but it's not going to alter your life whether you have a good or bad term. If you're not a professional player, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. Just do your best and let fate decide. Chess is so much better for me since I retired. I never was a chess player, I realized, until I've only been a chess player since 2019, since I've retired. I wasn't a chess player before then, because all my life, ambition, I gotta be better, I gotta be better, I gotta be better. I'm scared. Oh, this looks like an interesting combination, but it's for first place, so I'm just gonna play the safe way where I'm probably gonna win. That's not chess. You're like this businessman. Don't play for the result. It's no fun. It's no fun. And you might actually do better the other way because there's no pressure. We put tremendous pressure on ourselves. I had trouble sleeping before tournaments because I was so anxious all the time. Like you don't sleep well before tournament. Well, if I didn't put so much emphasis on the results, I would have slept like a baby, right? I mean, I might have been a stronger player had I not cared so much. So just let go of the ego. It's not. Who cares? Who cares whether you win or don't win that tournament or that game? It just be the player where you'd rather play a great game and lose than a really crappy game where you won, you got lucky and won. Okay. Spassky was once asked what was the best game of his life. He said it was a loss to Polyevsky.
Wow.
I put it in one of my books that's coming out. It's called Irrational Chess or Disorder. We don't know the name of the book, but anyway, go try to play as interesting and as fun a game as you can, even if you lose it, rather than be results oriented. Okay, then you're a true chess player. You really are. You're a businessman. You're a businesswoman if you play the other way. Okay, you play for results, and you play for ego. Ego eats up your energy like nothing else because you waste all this energy defending it. The insomnia I have before chess tournaments is my energy being wasted trying to protect the ego because the ego projects, well, what if I lose in 10 moves and everybody laughs at me? No, who cares? Okay, get laughed at. Just play the bloody game and stop being a baby and playing for the results, you know?
Yeah, got it. And now the summing up of our, let's say, collaboration and our interview. Just for you, let's say very briefly, as much as you wish, how did you feel during our today's meeting, during our interview? What did you maybe discover? What you reflected? What you felt? Something like from your point, how much you felt comfortable and what did you, let's say, have ever
Well, I mean, every interview I do, I try to be helpful to people. I mean, I don't want the interview to be boring. I don't want you to fall asleep during the interview. But I'm so animated. Some would say crazy that my interviews tend not to be boring. Okay, because I'm such an eccentric person that my interviews tend to not be boring. But I'm just here to help. If you I want you to be the best chess player you can be. But like I said, don't waste energy on it. Just if you use your energy in your training, not in your worry and your craving and your wanting. I really do have to go because I have to prepare for a lesson here. But
thank you very much, my friend. I really appreciated that you accepted the invitation.
Thomas, it's been a pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure.
And have a great time.
It's so nice to see you in real life. I've known you for years on Facebook. Now I get a real face. I know what you sound like. I know what you look like.
Thank you very much. We are very grateful.
You take care.
And take care. Bye bye.
Okay, you take care. Bye bye.
And let me know what do you think about this today's meeting with Cyrus, because it was pretty intense, as you can see. We did it, guys. We did it. I told you that I am super excited about it, And it looks like that we just crossed 1 hour 45 minutes. Because 10 minutes we will just, let's moved a little bit because I started a little bit earlier. And then we just, let's say, expand a little bit. I didn't know that it would be that long. I prepared most of the questions, as you can see. So to be prepared for some like 2 hours. But I didn't know that Cyrus will just extend or allow me to extend the stuff into, let's say, 1 hour 40 minutes. Therefore, I'm super happy. And now I would like you to elaborate a little bit, if you wish, of course. What do you think about this collaboration? Did you see how Cyrus is the passionate? What about this? Because I told you that this guy is a special. I told you. I told you that Cyrus is absolutely the, let's say, guy from the different planet. And that's because I'm super happy to show you that Cyrus is the guy that you either hate him or love him. Most people love him and love him personality, love his books and all of the stuff. And now very briefly, because probably you would like to see these books as well. The books that I was showing as the book covers. Winning Ugly at Chess. This is the book of the trilogy. Another one is Clinch by Cyrus Lakdawala. This is the next one. And the last one, as I just presented, Chess for Hawks. And I just asked him about this as well. Therefore, these 3 books are the trilogy to me. And I selected them just because they are probably the most important in your development as the player if you are below 2100. That's why I, let's say, bought them and I presented them and I just make this interview possible. Therefore, I'm super happy about it, and if you, let's say, enjoy it as well, I am happy as well. And now I'll just have a look at, just because at the recent 10 minutes I could not, let's say, look too much, let's say, intense. Therefore, I'll just have a look briefly. And by the way, Cyrus is the guy that practiced Buddhism. He practices Buddhism, and that's why he's so calm, so composed, and something like a very clean guy. Clean in the sense of lack of toxicity, something like that. That's why I love him, because he's just a multi-dimensional person, if I can say this way. And this guy is absolutely a legend. To me, this guy is something like a creme de la creme in our chess community, especially as being a writer, a coach, an inspirational guy, and the guy of all of the interview, as you can see, right? He wanted just to get you more awareness, how to become better player, what to do to enjoy chess more, right? He didn't want to sound like being the center of the attention, but rather he wanted to share his ideas, his experience and his knowledge with us to help you to get better. Take notice about this approach, right? And that's why I'm super happy about this as well. I'll just have a look about the chat. If there is something that I need to know, just let me know. And the idea of overtraining, right? Just practice 10 hours a day chess, and you do not need to worry about the results. Who is in? Right, guys? That's why I told you that chess coaches who are coaching different way, completely different way, they do not have the same ideas as we. Because normally I tell to my students, just solve tactics for just 1 hour a day, no more than that. Sometimes even half an hour if you can have the time. And Cyrus would say, no, just do it 5 hours a day. This way you can just make a progress, right? Practically 2 different words. Of course, I do not mean it's some like better or worse, but some like different approach, right? You either put the work pretty much into it, or you do not progress. As simple as that. Pumpkin the Cat, beautiful Finnish words. Yes, yes, the words of the, let's say, getting rid of the ego and all of the stuff is a beautiful one. Pumpkin, I always say when I play just to have fun, my rating does tend to go down. Take notice that is probably not the same what you think. Playing for fun doesn't mean not to focus, doesn't mean to give your best. Because you're playing for fun, but without the focus, without, let's say, making any effort to win the game, any effort to create something important, then your rating will go down a lot. The complex. People whispering and pointing at Cyrus, you should stop studying your Yugoslav attack. Look, he's the famous I am and plays the rat. Yes, that's correct. Pumpkin the King, great job, Finger Teacher, Venus interview. Thank you very much for your kind words. I really appreciate it. Green Castle Block, our friend Matt, thank you very much as well. C Complex, it was great. Thank you very much. Ollie, great Tom job. Thank you very much. C-Complex, Lakdawala has an amazing personality. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. This guy is another planet. That's why I was that much hyped a month ago when I figured out that our guest accepted the invitation. I told you that I'm super happy to have this guy, because to me this guy is a legend. Very creative brain, highly motivated, full of energy. Yes, that's right. He's full of energy. I didn't ask this question because there was probably the other ones, but Cyrus is working over chess ideas for 10 to 12 hours a day. I'm not kidding. 10 to 12 hours a day by day, he's working on chess ideas. Either by writing, either by selecting the games, either by writing different type of content, not chess related, either thinking about the ideas, writing down the ideas, let's say making the, let's say, book structure, all of the stuff related to publishing the books as the final product. He's absolutely amazing. Pumpkin the Cat, he clearly enjoyed it too since he wanted to keep talking. Yes, I told you that if Cyrus could have 3 hours for, let's say, having the interview, it would not be any problems at all. He can talk for hours. But what is important, he was very coherent. He was not something like a random stuff, but he was talking with passion, with something like drive, and in the meantime he was sharing a lot of golden pieces of advice, at least to me. C-Complex, for what levels would you think he presented 7 books that suited best? Let's have a look. Just put this into the other screen. This book, Just for Hogs, is for the players something like at least 1400 leeches. 1400 up to 1800. The other one, probably the same. This one, the same, up below 2000. Of course, if you are a little bit above 2000, probably not be harmed as well. Tactical Training is the general book from the players started from 1000 leeches. It doesn't need to be, you do not need to be pretty much advanced, therefore it's something like for the starters, but not super easy as well. Tactical Training in the endgame, it could be something like for the players at least 1600, because below that, probably if you didn't, let's say, reach this rating, you will not start feeling the joy of chess and then the need to study the endgames. But this book is something like 1500-1600 minimum, then you will have to enjoy it the most. But of course, if you are 1000, if you love endgames, this book is for you as well. Take notice that there may be some difficult positions, as our friend Cyrus mentioned. Rewire Your Chess Brain, it is the book if you really love endgames, if you really love compositions, and if you really love challenges related to finding absolutely amazing solutions, some like counterintuitive ones. If you love it very much, it's for you. No matter the rating, because as Cyrus mentioned, it is not the goal to solve the positions, but rather to digest, rather to enjoy, rather to be challenged, rather to find unbelievable solutions, and then just analyze that and try to put this into your mind, some like the unexpected solutions you missed. Therefore, it's for most of the players, but if you are 1800 leeches, this book will be the, let's say, pretty much help, because it will help you to generate the ideas. It's not just for the progress, something like, let's say, learning the lines in Nimzowicz or Sicilian defense or something like that, but rather to expand your perspectives from the, let's say, point of view of chess view. The Smysłów workbook, as you can see, is the book related to the end games that you probably want to know, and this one probably will be very, very interesting if you, let's say, know the basic of end games, but you would like to get into the next level, especially as Cyrus mentioned, this is the book based on the Smysłów works. Therefore, this book will help you at end games if you have the basics of end games and you really would like to be way better at end games. Therefore, it's something like 1700, 1800 minimum, then you will be enjoying it the most. And that's why the Smysłów workbook, 1700 minimum, Rewire Your Chess Brain, 1900 or 2000 if you are, let's say, very much, let's say, persevered person and you have very hard challenges, or 1600 if you you're up into the challenges, you do not matter about your chess ability, but want to have a very difficult challenges, then even 1600 will be okay. The other way. The training endgame, tactical training in the endgame is the level, let's say, 1100, 1200, even 1000 would be good. Of course, there are a little bit more difficult, let's say, difficult examples that you need to work hard, but it is not super difficult. Therefore, this is something like the books that describes all of the tactical weapon. This is in the end game, but I mean, of course, tactical training general one. The general one, tactical training, the motives of chess, with some of the examples how you can approach them. And winning ugly at chess, as the title implies, because I'm not sure if you can see that. Playing badly is no excuse for losing, right? Therefore, winning ugly in chess sometimes happens. If you know how to improve your chances to win at chess, if you have the ugly position, it is probably for you. Another one, Clinch It, is the book related to how to convert the advantage into the win. Probably something like how to realize the advantage. I am talking about leeches. I'm talking about leeches because everybody, or probably most of the players, know about leeches. Leeches rapid, let's put it this way. Not blitz, but leeches rapid. Clinch It, how to convert the advantage into the win. C complex, dark tactical training in the endgame contain easy endgame studies or endgames with few pieces too. To be honest, I do not know this. I will just answer the next time, because I will just try to figure it out and then I will answer this question. And now the first book that I was pretty much falling in love is Chess for Hawks, and this is the book related to how to improve your vision, sharpen your talons and forget your fear. This is the book that if you want to know what kind of player you are and what you should be doing to improve your practical chances to win the games. As Cyrus mentioned, if you are the tactical player, playing the positions that are boring, that are closed, that doesn't give you the opportunity to show your excellence at tactics, doesn't mean many sense, because you'll be frustrated, because you'll be suffering. And the opposite, if you are the player who doesn't, let's say, enjoy tactical fireworks, and if you want to improve your chess, and if you want to play solid positions, you need to know what kind of positions you need to reach and how you continue the game, not to get into the positions that can, let's say, destroy your position into the pieces. And these are the books: Chess for Hawks, Clinch It, Winning Ugly in Chess. These three is the trilogy: Tactical Training in the Endgame, Rewire Chess Brain, and the Smithstroff Workbook. C complex, I found the simple pages. Okay, thank you very much. If you just answered the questions by yourself, it's even better. Okay, guys, let me know if there are any other questions or any other stuff you would like to address or would like me to address. And C complex says in previous of his comment, sorry. I was looking forward for a lot to this collab. Now my brain is conflicted. If it's allowed to remain happy after realizing I just have to get some of the books mentioned, my poor bank account. Yes, I did it on purpose. I did it on purpose because I just show you some of the books. I missed the 7th one that you may be the most interested with, because these books contain some magic. And as you just seen, Cyrus Lakdawala is a very animated guy, very honest guy, and he's a passionate guy. Therefore, if you like the prose that take into account some kind of humor, some kind of another stuff that is not just boring lines or something like putting the, let's say, classical terminology, you will love it. You will love it. And maybe I'll just read one excerpt about that, because this way probably you'll understand what I mean. I'll just have a look at chat. Pumpkin the Cat, I'm quite tempted by the number of chess books, yeah. I already have 3 chess books that I'm slowly trying to work through though, excellent. Maybe for me as well, only difference I might need less time solving them. Yes, probably you'll need a little bit less time because you know probably more of the positions. And now I'll just read one of the passage from the books Chess for Hawks, this one. And I'll just, let's say, try to help you to imagine how it is feel like to read such a book. I mean, the books written by Cyrus Lakdawala. After 14th move, knight b6. The comment is the following. A move made with the philosophy. When busted, chaos is synonymous with opportunity. The only issue here is that black is far from busted, as my opponent may have believed during the game. There is a difference between a separation and amputation. This looks a lot closer to the latter. My opponent, obviously surprised by my sacrifice, indulges in a hawkish overreaction, overestimating his own kingside attacking chances. Correct was, and this is a short version, White is up material with a rook and 3 pawns for 2 minor pieces. Still, I think black's kingside build up gives him reasonable chances to attack. And this is the pros, that you are just sitting next to the Cyrus, and Cyrus is making the ASMR into your ears with the ideas over the board and some of his mind connected to yours. So Silman's endgame book with all these different categories. I'm not sure what you mean by different. Different categories, I mean the different philosophy, I would say. Because Silman's book related to the endgame is divided into the parts, divided into the classes. For example, if you are 1200, you should know these 5 endgames. If you are 1400, you need to know another 4. If you are 1800, you need to know another 15. And this is something like divided into the classes. The endgame's getting harder each section, I mean? Probably yes. Probably at his books related to this tactical training in the endgame, probably you are correct that this may be the increasing level of difficulty. Yes, I think that's one of the ideas, but at Silman's book, it's up to 2300, if I'm not mistaken. But in Silman's, it's just pointed out something like clearly, and in books of Cyrus, I mean these ones, probably it's something like different concepts, if I can say that. And I'll just have a look at Silman's book, endgame book, actually. The last part is from 2200 up to 2399, and then it is the endgames for pleasure. Therefore, it's up to the master, up to the FIDE master level, I would say. Up to the FIDE master level, part 8, endgames for masters, 2200 up to 2399. And this is from this book from Silman's complete endgame course. C complex. So then it would definitely not hard to read a different endgame book or have a collection of simple endgame studies. Of course, and that's why I asked Cyrus what was the process of selection about the positions that are put into the book. Take notice that Cyrus Lakdawala, our today's guest, is running the group on Facebook, just endgame compositions. He's putting the endgame positions probably each day except probably Sunday, something like six days a week, and he's just let's say making the discussion. And therefore, afterwards, the discussion, all of the opinions, he just selected the most important, the most beautiful, and the most beneficial endgames into the book, and that's why you can just try to solve them and try to have them into your mind and make the patterns recognitions better when you are playing the endgame against the players. Bust and Silhouette. Which one of these books could be made into an app? Something like Dr. Wolf. I'm not sure if any of these books would be just like an app, except of the electronic version. Something like electronic version from the different websites that maybe this book converted into this one. Take notice that I do not know the answer about this one. That's why sometimes I may not be an oracle. C complex. I don't know how you're playing level, but tactical in endgame might be a nice choice or one of Dan Heisman's books. Yes. If you want to make the training into the endgame, if you're serious that you do not want to lose at the endgame part, this book is one of the best one. Because it gives you the opportunity to practice, and in the meantime it gives you the selected positions you enjoy. The positions are challenged and will give you the benefits. As you just heard, Cyrus mentioned that his students are getting 200 or 300s better after, let's say, working with these books in a solid way. That's why I believe him just. Because one of the students of Cyrus recently won the under 11 age group, if I'm not mistaken. He just mentioned this in one of the points. C complex. Which Dan Heisman book covers some simple endgame studies or decision making when few pieces are left? Neither. Dan Heisman didn't publish the books about the endgames. That's why I do not know such books about Dan Heisman. If you are talking about Bruce Pandolfini, this will be a little different topic. But Dan Heisman didn't cover endgames at his books, at least not as the main motive. That's why I can't answer this question, because I do not know about the books of Dan Heisman related to the endgames. At least it's out of my mind at this moment. Pumpkin the Cat, for sure, although I think Silman's rating categories are being outdated. These days many 200 knows some pretty advanced England theory. Yes, that's correct. Yes, that's correct. It may be a little bit outdated because Silman wrote this book in 2007, 15 years ago. And 15 years ago chess and nowadays chess, it's a different one. Therefore, you are right, it may be something like not precise, I mean, the outdated, because there are more endgames you need to know, and some of the endgames from higher level should be put into the lower level, and probably the higher level should be extended about something like 20% or 30% of another endgames you must know. That's my, let's say, that's my hypothesis and my explanation. Pumpkin the Cat, I'm currently going through a chapter that's beyond my level, but I'm finding it very useful. Okay, are you talking about Silman's? That's probably you mean, because Silman's rating you said. It's complex. Yes, I would agree, at least regarding theoretical endgames. Yes, theoretical endgames are difficult, because they do not pop up pretty often at your games, and therefore probably they need to be learned a little bit later. Complex. Regarding practical endgames play or intuitive understanding in the endgame, I feel like players below 2300 liches are struggling a lot. Yes, yes. If they are not passionate about endgames, many players at endgames, even strong ones, have a pretty much big gaps in their education. I would agree on that.